A stranger messaged me on Instagram. Check your husband's DMs. Heart pounding, I opened them, hundreds of flirty messages, dozens of women. Instead of confronting him, I created a fake account and messaged him myself. He took the bait instantly. The night of our date, he walked into a hotel suite expecting a new mistress, and found me, sitting across from every woman he had been stringing along. I was sitting on the couch, half watching an old Friends episode, when my phone buzzed. A DM from a stranger. Normally, I'd ignore it, but something about the message made my stomach drop. Check your husband's DMs. Just that. No hello, no explanation. I stared at the words. My first instinct was to ignore it, spam, probably. Or some scam. But my hands were already moving, opening Instagram, clicking on my husband's profile, my heart hammering in my chest. We had been married for 10 years. 10 years of date nights, anniversaries, vacations, inside jokes, late-night talks, and quiet mornings drinking coffee together. 10 years of building a life, a home, a marriage. I clicked on his messages. And everything shattered. Hundreds of conversations. Thousands of messages. Women I didn't know. Women of all ages. Women who had sent pictures. Women who had sent videos. Messages full of flirting, teasing, plans to meet up. I felt sick. My hands shook so badly I almost dropped my phone. He wasn't just talking to one woman. He wasn't just flirting for attention. He was cheating. Over and over again. With dozens of women. I scrolled. And scrolled. And scrolled. He told them they were beautiful. Special. That he was thinking about them. That he couldn't wait to see them. That he missed them. The same man who kissed my forehead every morning before leaving for work. Who held my hand at the movies. Who promised he would love me forever. I was still staring at the screen when I heard his car pull into the driveway. Panic shot through me. My mind was spinning. I had two choices. 1. Confront him. Throw my phone in his face, scream, cry, demand an explanation. 2. Stay calm. Do something smarter. I went with option 2. Because I wasn't just going to expose him. I was going to humiliate him. I created a fake Instagram account that night. I knew exactly what kind of woman he liked. I had just spent hours reading the proof. He liked them young, gorgeous, flirty, confident. The kind of woman who knew she could get whatever she wanted. I scrolled through Instagram, found a few models with small accounts, stole their photos, and set up a brand new profile. Then, I messaged my husband. Hey. He responded in minutes. Well, hello gorgeous. My stomach twisted, but I forced myself to play along. I flirted. I teased. I kept it light and playful, never too eager, just enough to keep him chasing. And he chased hard. By the second day, he was complimenting me. By the third, he was telling me how different I was from other women. By the fourth, he was asking to meet. I almost threw up when I read it. Because I wanted to believe that maybe, just maybe, he wasn't that bad. That maybe he was only flirting online, maybe it was just a fantasy. It wasn't. He was ready to cheat. In real life. Right in front of my face. I typed back. Of course. I'd love to meet you. He was so excited. We planned a date for Saturday night. A hotel suite, because of course. He told me he'd book it. He wanted it to be special. I told him I couldn't wait. Then I spent the next 2 days working. Because I wasn't the only one he had done this to. And I wasn't going to be the only one in that hotel room. I started with the Instagram DM. The one that had warned me. Who are you? I wrote back. A few hours later, they responded. Just someone who got played too. We started talking. I found out she had been sleeping with my husband for almost 4 months. She had no idea he was married. She found out through another woman. She gave me names. Screenshots. More messages. Then, I started reaching out. To every single woman he had messaged. Some ignored me. Some blocked me. But a few? A few had something to say. A few had also been sleeping with him. A few were pissed. And suddenly, we had a plan. I couldn't sleep the night before the meetup. My heart felt like it was going to explode out of my chest. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw his messages. The I miss yous, the I can't wait to see yous, the you're so different from the others. I had to keep reminding myself that I was the wife. I was the one he had sworn loyalty to. And he was a liar. A cheat. A man who had looked me in the eye every single day and still managed to live this double life. The hotel room was ready. The plan was in motion. But then something else happened. Something I hadn't expected. One of the women I had messaged, let's call her Sophie, called me that morning. Her voice was shaking. "There's something you should know," she said. I braced myself. "You're not the only wife." I thought I misheard her. "What? He's married to someone else too." I sat down so fast I nearly knocked over my coffee. "That's not possible," I said. "It is. I met her. She's real." I felt dizzy. I couldn't breathe. Sophie sent me a photo. A woman. Pretty. Smiling. Wearing a wedding ring that looked a lot like mine. My husband, was married to someone else. Not just cheating. Not just leading a double life online. He had an entire second wife. I almost dropped the phone. "Where does she live?" I whispered. Sophie hesitated. "Same city as you." I closed my eyes. My pulse roared in my ears. "Does she know about me?" "No. But she will soon." I was shaking so hard I had to grip the table to steady myself. Because my plan, our plan, was already set. But now? Now, there was another woman. Another victim. Another wife. And she had no idea. I had two choices. 1. Stick to the plan. Humiliate him, ruin him, expose him for the cheating liar he was. 2. Tell her. Before it was too late. I took a deep breath. Then I grabbed my phone. And I made the call. The phone rang 3 times before she picked up. "Hello?" Her voice was soft. Uncertain. I had rehearsed what I was going to say a dozen times in my head, but now that she was on the line, my throat tightened. How do you tell another woman that the man she loves is a fraud? That her marriage isn't real? That she's been lied to? "You don't know me," I said finally, gripping the edge of the table so hard my knuckles turned white. "But I think we have something in common." She was quiet. "What do you mean?" she asked. I swallowed. "I'm married to your husband." A sharp inhale on the other end. A shaky breath. "That's not funny," she said. "Who is this?" "Check your husband's Instagram," I whispered. "Check his messages. Check his emails. You'll see I'm telling the truth." She didn't speak. But I heard her moving around, the sound of a door closing, her breathing getting heavier. And then, oh my God. It was barely a whisper. "You're lying," she said, but her voice broke. I wish I was. I waited while she scrolled. I knew exactly what she was seeing. The same messages I had seen. The same flirty texts, the same pictures, the same lies. Minutes passed. Then she said something that made my stomach drop. "He told me you were his ex-wife. That you were crazy. That you kept stalking him." I let out a bitter laugh. "Let me guess," I said. "He told you he was single when you met? That his past relationships were too complicated? That you were the only one he really cared about?" Silence. Then, yes. I closed my eyes. "Of course. I'm sorry," I said. She took a breath. "What are you planning to do?" I hesitated. This wasn't just about me anymore. This wasn't just about some online cheating, some messages, some flings. This was bigger. Because if he had another wife, then who's to say there weren't more? I picked up my phone, my pulse hammering. "Meet me at the Blackwood Hotel tonight," I said. "Room 607. 8 p.m. You deserve to see this for yourself." And then everything got even worse. 3 hours before the meetup, I got another DM. From another woman. At this point, my nerves were shot, but I clicked on it anyway. And what I saw almost made me pass out. A picture. Of my husband. Holding a baby. "Is this your husband?" the message read. Because if it is, he's the father of my son. I had to read the words 3 times before my brain caught up. Father. Of. My. Son. I couldn't breathe. Because this wasn't just cheating. This wasn't just 2 wives. This was a whole other family. And I had no idea what I was walking into tonight. By the time I arrived at the Blackwood Hotel, my hands were ice cold. I couldn't feel my fingers. My heart was pounding so hard I thought I might pass out before I even made it upstairs. I had planned for one confrontation. Now Now, I was walking into something so much bigger. Because this wasn't just my cheating husband. This was 2 wives. And 1 woman with his child. God only knew if there were more. I stepped into the elevator, pressed the button for the 6th floor, and watched the doors slide shut. I had told the others to meet at 8 p.m., and it was now 7:57. 3 minutes. I pulled my phone out. My last message from him was still there. Can't wait to see you tonight, gorgeous. He thought he was walking into a hookup. Instead, he was walking into his own ruin. I took a deep breath and stepped into the hallway. I reached room 607. The door was slightly open. Inside, 2 women were already there. One was Sophie, the woman who had warned me in the first place. The other? His second wife. Her name was Claire. She turned when I walked in. And the moment our eyes met, I knew, she was just as destroyed as I was. Neither of us spoke. Because what could we even say? We were married to the same man. We had both built lives with him. We had both been lied to. The baby's mother, her name was Lacey, arrived next. She held her phone in one hand, clutching it like a lifeline. Her eyes darted between me and Claire, like she was trying to convince herself that this was real. He told me he wasn't ready to get married, she whispered. He said he had a complicated past, but that I was the one. He said he loved me. I looked at Claire. He told you the same thing, didn't he? Her face crumpled. Then there was a knock at the door. I knew it was him. The room went completely silent. No one moved. The air was thick. Heavy. Then Sophie took a step forward and reached for the handle. And opened the door. At first, he smiled. That arrogant, cocky smile. Then his eyes flickered to me. His face dropped. Then Claire. His mouth opened slightly. Then Lacey. And that's when his entire world shattered. What the F, he choked out. The room stayed dead silent. I folded my arms. Surprise. He stepped back, like he was trying to convince himself this wasn't happening. Then Claire moved first. How could you, she hissed. His eyes darted between us, wild, frantic. Panicking. He swallowed. Listen, baby, this isn't, do not call me baby, she snapped. His hands trembled. He had never expected to get caught. This is a misunderstanding, he tried. I can explain. I let out a cold laugh. Oh. Which part? The fact that you're married to 2 women? The fact that you have a child you never told anyone about? The fact that you've been screwing half the city? His face drained of color. He was struggling. Because for the first time in his life, he had no excuses. Lacey stepped forward. Was I just some game to you, she whispered. Did you ever actually care? Or was I just another name on your list? His eyes darted toward her. I cared, he said quickly. Of course I did. Claire let out a sharp, bitter laugh. You cared, she snapped. Do you know what it's like to be your wife? To be your wife, while you're out screwing her? She gestured toward me. Or her. She gestured toward Lacey. Or her. She pointed at Sophie. His mouth just opened and closed. No words. No defense. Then Lacey pulled out her phone. I think your boss would love to hear about this, she said. You know, the one who thinks you're such a family man. His head snapped toward her. Don't. His voice was shaking. Please. You don't need to do that. Oh, but I do, she said. I pulled out my own phone. Your parents might be interested, too. His entire body tensed. You wouldn't, he breathed. I raised an eyebrow. Wouldn't I? His entire life was crumbling in real time. He had no way out. And then, like a true coward, he turned and ran. Straight down the hallway. Claire grabbed her purse and stormed after him. Lacey was already on her phone, typing. Sophie turned to me. What now? I took a deep breath. Now? I swallowed. Now, we move on. And for the first time in weeks, maybe months, maybe years, I actually believed it. By the next morning, his world was in ashes. His boss knew. His family knew. His friends knew. His job? Gone. His second marriage? Over. The women he had been using? All of them knew the truth. He called me once. Begging. Pleading. I didn't answer. I filed for divorce 2 days later. Claire did the same. Lacey? She started a custody case. And me? I realized something. I had been so afraid to lose him. But now? Now I was free. And it turned out, that was the best revenge of all.